Therefore, strategy is always about how do you create the future while managing the present. Fusion implies you are combining two things and they become inseparable. Fusion strategy requires 5 types of fusion. I think fusion strategy fundamentally shifts the strategy paradigm. Fusion strategy is about expanding scale and scope at exponential speed. And that happens because of direct network effects, indirect network effects, and data network effects. Is it possible in the future, historical industrial company becomes a fusion strategy company, an industrial digital company? The answer is absolutely yes. Therefore, Japan has the opportunity in heavy assets to be a global leader.
皆様こんにちは。NTT データ経営研究所と国への社長をしています山口です。今日はダートマス大学のタックビジネススクールのビジェイ・ゴビンダラン教授をお招きし、AI や IoT 技術が急激に進展する中で、製造業はどのような戦略を取るべきかについてインタビューをしましたので紹介したいと思います。ビジェイ教授はイノベーションに関するソートリーダーとして世界的に著名で、スリーボックスソリューションズやリバースエンジニアリングという世界的に注目される書籍も出版されています。今回はビジェイさんとボストン大学のベンカントさんが書かれたフュージョンストラテジーを中心にインタビューしましたので紹介したいと思います。またこのインタビューの最後で、意見交換していますが、ちょうど私がフォーサイト起点の社会イノベーションという本を書いておりまして、ちょうど3月に出筆が終わった時にこの本に出会いました。私はこの自分の書いた本の中で顧客の真の課題を解決するためにタンジブル、物理的なプロダクトにセンサーを埋め込んでデジタルで実現するコネクテッドインタンジブルプロダクト、サービスを融合する戦略が日本企業の今後取るべきデジタル戦略でないかということを書きました。このフュージョンストラテジーを読むと同じような考え方が書いてあるので、私は大変感激したところでございますので、ぜひともこの本を翻訳しようということで取り組まさせていただきました。私はこの本に大変感銘を受けましたので、4月にはダートマス大学のビジェイさんを訪問し、意見交換する機会を得ることもできました。この本では今までのデジタル変革はサービス業を中心に展開されてきたけれども、今後のデジタル変革は自動車産業や農業機械等のヘビーアセットインダストリーが中心になるとの考えを述べておられます。まさに技術が進展している AI、IoT が作り出すデータグラフをキーコンセプトに経営戦略がどのように変わっていくかということを大変わかりやすく書かれております。この本の中で少し出ておりますこのフュージョンストラテジーのポイントをご説明したいと思います。このフュージョンストラテジーというのは5つの観点でフュージョンを実現しているということでございます。1つ目はセンサーを物理的なものに埋め込んで物理的なものとデジタルを融合させるというフュージョン。2番目はAI をはじめとしたデジタルの力を最大限発揮させるために人間とマシンが協業していくためのフュージョン。3番目はアートのようなアナログの思考の中にデータを中心にしたデジタル思考を融合させていくというフュージョン。4番目はデジタルツインに代用されるようなバーチャルと物理的な世界を融合していくというフュージョン。で、最後に5番目はですね、自社中心で戦略を考えるのではなく、企業連携のエコシステムの中に自社の戦略を融合させていくというフュージョン。この5つのフュージョンが、このフュージョンストラテジーと言っているところの意味しているところのようでございます。それでは、この AI、IoT が進展する中で、製造業はどのようなデジタル戦略を取っていけばいいのかということについて、4つの、バトルフィールドと言ってますけれども、製造業が取るべき戦略を4つに分けて 説明されています。一つは、プロダクト、物理的なものの中にセンサーを埋め込んで、既存マシンの生産性とか効率性を向上させるという、これをこの本の中ではフュージョンプロダクトということで、デジタルに物理的なものを掛け合わせるという意味のフュージョンプロダクトというのが一つ目の戦略でございます。これが製造業のデジタル戦略のスタートポイントであろうということを言っております。次にはこれを少し発展させて、顧客のオペレーションにデジタルプロダクトを埋め込んで、物を売って終わりではなくて、お客さんの課題や生産性、成果を保証するサービスをやっていくフュージョンサービスということで、よく言われる製造業のサービス化というところに展開していくというのがございます。ただこれも単なるサービス化じゃなくて、センサーデータをうまく使った上でアウトカムを保証していくというサービスでございます。さらに一社だけでやるんではなくて、関連するプロダクトにセンサーを埋め込んだ企業同士が連携して、その一つの企業の最適化じゃなくて全体の最適化を図っていくという企業連携の仕組みを作っていくというこのフュージョンシステムというのが3番目のデジタル戦略でございます。このフュージョンのサービスとフュージョンのシステム、成果を保証するサービス型ビジネスと一社でなくてエコシステムを組んでいくフュージョンシステムを組み合わせて顧客の課題を解決するために成果を保証するサービスと複数企業でエコシステムを作っていくこのフュージョンシステムを統合したフュージョンソリューションというのが製造業の今後のデジタル変革の方向であろうということを述べております。ビジェイさんとの対談ではフュージョンストラテジーを経営戦略面を中心にインタビューしています。データグラフというテクノロジー面については別途ボストン大学のベンカントさんにインタビューしています。この動画では今後の AI、IoT が進展するデジタル社会において製造業がどのような戦略を取るべきかについて体系的にまた新たな考えをこのビジェイさんが述べられておられます。ということで皆様にとっても大変興味あるテーマだと思いますので、ぜひこのインタビューを見ていただければと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。Thank you for joining me today. It's an honor to be hosting this dialogue today. My name is Shigeki Yamaguchi, and I serve as the CEO of NTT Data Institute of Management Consulting and CNIE. Additionally, I am also an executive advisor at NTT Data. Over the course of my career, I have been deeply involved in exploring the transformative potential of digital technologies in business and management. My commitment to understanding and implementing digital transformation strategies has inspired me to write several books on the subject. These include Economy of Wisdom, published in 2019, which discusses the impact on society and economy, Trust and Digital in 2020, where I explored how business leaders can leverage digital technologies for concrete business outcomes, and Digital Transformation and Learning Organization in 2021, which focuses on what organization is required to make digital transformation successful. Foresight-driven social innovation in 2024, where I try to clarify how connected intangible product and service transform the society. Today, I am excited to discuss the book Fusion Strategy and explore how real-time data and AI can drive industrial growth and revolutionize business strategies. It's a pleasure to have with us today as distinguished guest Professor Vijay Govindarajan, who is joining us from Daart School of Business. Vijay-san is a leading authority in the field of strategy and innovation, with extensive contributions to understanding how business can adapt and thrive in a rapidly changing world. His works, including the pioneering books like The Three Box Solution and Reverse Engineering. In his latest book, Fusion Strategies, he offers deep insight into the role of real-time data and AI in shaping the future of industries. Vijay-san, your work has been a guiding light for many in the business and academic communities. Could you please share about yourself and your journey?
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to join you on this conversation. You know, I was born and brought up in India. I actually grew up in a small town in India. And in my formative years, what I saw was lots and lots of problems. And our family had very few resources. If you have lots and lots of problems and you have very few resources, the only way you can solve your problem is through innovation. There is no other way. We can't throw money at the problem. We don't have money. That is how I became really passionate about this topic of innovation fairly early on in my career. From that small town, through some process of luck, I got admitted to Harvard Business School, where I did my MBA and doctorate, and then stayed on the Harvard Business School faculty, and then moved to my current institution, Tuck School of Business, at Dartmouth in 1985. So I have been at Tuck nearly 40 years. And in this last 50 plus years, I have devoted all my waking moments and even some of my sleeping moments to understand everything that I possibly can about this topic of innovation. I am known for three big ideas: reverse innovation, three-box solution, and the new book, Fusion Strategy, and all of them are connected around this topic of innovation. I'm not only a professor at Dartmouth, I'm also a partner in a Silicon Valley incubator called Mark 49. And the reason I'm a partner there is because they execute my framework for innovation, which is the three-box solution. I'm also a senior advisor to a strategy consulting firm, Acropolis Advisors. And again, the reason I joined them was that consulting firm was co-founded by the Harvard Business School professor, Michael Porter. And given his focus on competitive advantage, for which innovation is key, that is why I joined hands with that firm as well. That is who I am.
Thank you. Today's session is designed to explore both the theoretical foundation and practical applications of fusion strategy. Let me give you a brief overview of our agenda. We will start by exploring the transition from Professor Vijay-san's earlier work, three-box solution, to his latest insight in fusion strategy, covering the core characteristics of the strategy and key takeaways that are crucial for understanding the evolving landscape of business and technology. Following that, I will share the broader impact of digital technologies. This includes how digital innovations are affecting manufacturers and what strategies can be employed to address these changes effectively. Next,
we will explore both the theoretical and practical side of fusion strategy, starting with a foundational concept like data graphs and algorithms that are crucial for interesting different business elements. We will also discuss the emerging paradigm of the connected intangible economy and the new economic principles that govern it. On top of that, I will also share with you my thought on how to approach and maximize digital impact. And finally, we will conclude our session by asking Professor Vijay to share his thoughts and messages with our Japanese audience. Without further ado, let's dive into today's session and explore the valuable insight Vijay-san has to offer. Let's kick off our session today with our first major topic, the transition from the three-box solution to a fusion strategy. Vijay-san, before diving deep into fusion strategy, I would like to start by understanding the relationship of fusion strategy with the three-box solution. Three-box solution is one of the leading innovation strategies which focuses on managing the present, past, and future as represented by box 1, 2, and 3. Box 1 is about managing the present, that is, executing current core business at peak efficiency. Box 2 is about managing the past by selectively forgetting it. And Box 3 is really about innovation by managing the future. This can be done by redefining the customer set, customer value, and value chain through non-linear innovations. When it comes to fusion strategy, I interpret it as a strategy that addresses the innovation challenges faced by heavy asset manufacturers on three different horizons. Horizon 1 is 1 to 3 years, and the challenge is to find success in today's battles while preparing for future battlegrounds in Horizon 3, which is more than 7 years. And Horizon 3 is between 3 and 7 years, and the challenge here is to abolish traditional practices and to adopt new practices. I would like to hear from you about the relationship between the two books and what motivated you to write Fusion Strategy. Please.
Thank you very much. I think you did a great job of linking these two books. You see, three-box solution is my foundational framework. It is a framework of frameworks, if you will. Everything that I have done, I can reflect it in my three-box solution. As you rightly pointed out, whenever I go into organizations, I ask them the following question. Think about all the projects you're doing today and put them in three boxes. How many projects you're doing today is in box 1? And box 1 is manage the present. It is about improve the performance of your organization the way it is constructed today. If you're General Motors, the box 1 challenge is how to improve efficiency in internal combustion-driven gasoline-powered automobiles. That is your core business. That's your box 1 business. How many activities you have, which will be in box 2. And box 2 is about selectively forget the past. And how many projects you have, which are in box 3, and box 3 is about create the future. Manage the present, box 1. Selectively abandon the past, box 2, and create the future, box 3. And what I find working with organizations is they way over focus on box 1. and then they think they're doing strategy.
Yeah.
Box 1 is terribly important, no doubt, but strategy must include box 2 and box 3.
Yeah.
What is the challenge for organizations in box 3? How do you create your future in the year 2030? And if you want to create your future in the year 2030, then you have a job to do in box 2. Namely, you have to selectively forget. And let me clarify one thing right away. Strategy for every organization, that includes General Motors, that includes Toyota,
Yeah.
is about becoming a leader in the year 2030. But strategy is not about what you have to do in the year 2030. Strategy is very much about the projects you're executing in the year 2024 across the three boxes,
Yeah.
so that you intersect with the year 2030. How are you allocating resources today? How is the organization's energy focused today across the three boxes, so that you stay relevant in the next decade? Another word for box 1 is competition for the present. That is all about efficiency. Another word for box 2, box 3 is competition for the future. That's all about innovation. Both are important. Therefore, strategy is always about how do you create the future while managing the present. And the reason why this is a particular challenge is the people, the processes, the capabilities, the metrics, the mindsets, the culture that is needed to excel in box 1 are fundamentally different than the people, the processes, the culture, the metrics, the mindset that is needed in box 2, box 3. Yet, if you're General Motors, you have to do both in the year 2024. This is the central challenge. Think for a moment, what is the box 3 challenge for General Motors? Box 3 is about creating the future. The auto mobility will be very different in the year 2030 than it is today. There will be a lot more electric vehicles sold, a lot more self-driving cars sold by year 2030. But for General Motors to create that future in the year 2030, it's not about what it has to do in the year 2030. It's about what is it doing in the year 2024 in starting experiments around the digital transformation. That is why fusion strategy is an example of a box 2, box 3 strategy. But General Motors also has a box 1 challenge, which is to make money with internal combustion-driven gasoline-powered automobiles, because that's not going away. But at the same time, you have to invent this fusion future. As an example, think about the capabilities it takes to excel in box 1 for General Motors. It will be mechanical engineering. Whereas to create the future, they need artificial intelligence experts. They need software engineers, fundamentally different capabilities, fundamentally different processes. Therefore, I say fusion strategy is simply an example of an application of my 3-box solution.
Thank you. Vijay-san, for sharing your motivation behind writing a fusion strategy and the transition from 3-box to fusion. It's fascinating to hear about the evolution of these ideas. As we delve deeper, I'd like to ask, in your view, what are the key characteristics of successful fusion strategy implementation? And what should companies focus on to effectively integrate these strategies into their business models? Please.
That's a great question. Let us look at the word fusion.
Fusion.
Fusion implies you are combining two things and they become inseparable. That's what fusion is. We have heard of the concept of fusion in nuclear fusion, when two things combine and then they become inseparable. Fusion strategy requires 5 types of fusion. The first is fusion between the physical product and the digital overlay. By that I mean, an automobile will never disappear. An automobile is a hardware. It's a physical product. But what is going to happen to the automobile is it'll become a fusion product. When it becomes a fusion product, you are digitizing the automobile itself by putting sensors, by putting computer vision, etc. Therefore, the first fusion for every asset-heavy company, if you're John Deere, you have to think about how do you create fusion between the tractor, which is the physical product, and the IoT sensors, computer screen, and all the digital overlay. That's number one. Number two is fusion between humans and machines. Ultimately, the game is going to be won by people, by companies, which is able to fuse smart human beings with intelligent machines. I say AI does not stand for artificial intelligence. It stands for augmented intelligence. AI has to augment human intelligence. So create a fusion between humans and machines. That is number two. Number one, fusion between the physical product and digital overlay. Number two is fusion between smart humans and intelligent machines. The third type of fusion is you have to fuse digital thinking into analog disciplines like science, art, engineering. I don't believe you can just turn out mechanical engineers anymore. You have to turn out mechanical engineers who understand the power of AI. So therefore, the number three is how do you fuse digital thinking into every analog discipline, whether it is science, art, or engineering. The fourth kind of fusion is physical world and virtual world. These are inseparable. The virtual world is the metaverse. Today, BMW uses metaverse to design new models of cars. But then the actual building of the car has to be in the physical world. Therefore, don't make any separation between the metaverse, which is the virtual world, and the physical world we live in. They have to be fused. And number five, fusion, is you cannot be firm-centric. You have to fuse your firm in an ecosystem of players. Ultimately, the game, say, going back to the automobile industry that we were talking about a few minutes ago, the game is not going to be won by just General Motors acting alone. General Motors has to orchestrate an ecosystem where there are digital startups and digital giants part of that ecosystem. We have to shift our thinking from me company to we company. The focus has to be on the network, not on the firm. This is exciting frontier because the fusion brings five forces into a fused state.
Thank you for sharing your thought about fusion strategy. Building on that, Vijay-san, could you elaborate on what you want to emphasize in fusion strategy? Specifically, what are the key differences between traditional strategies and the fusion strategies you have outlined in your book? Please.
Great question again. I think fusion strategy fundamentally shifts the strategy paradigm. By the way, there are only two ways companies can compete: scale and scope. Those are the only two ways you can compete. What digital technologies have done is to make a nonlinear change in scale and scope. Let me illustrate what I mean. Take, for instance, scale. In the 20th century, analog world, scale for General Motors was based on number of cars they produced and sold. This is a market share metric.
Yeah.
Of course, you can grow sales revenue by increasing the number of cars you produce and sell. But that kind of a growth in the 20th century was always linear and gradual. Why? Because if General Motors had to expand its scale based on number of cars they produce and sell, they have to build factories. They have to open dealership. You can do it, but it takes time. Whereas in the digital world, scale grows non-linear and exponential. Why? For General Motors, scale in the 20th century was based on number of cars they produced and sold.
Yeah.
That is why it grew linear and gradual. For Uber, which is a digital giant, scale is based on number of cars in their network. That is why they grow exponentially. By the way, Marriott, which has operated in the 20th century brick and mortar physical world, after 150 years of operation, Marriott has 1 million hotel rooms. Airbnb, which started a decade ago, they have over 7 million hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Scope also in the digital world changes from linear in the 20th century to non-linear and exponential in the 21st century. What do I mean by that? Take, for instance, how would Procter & Gamble expand its scope in the 20th century? They would have expanded scope by moving from laundry detergent to disposable diapers, by leveraging their core competence. They have a core competence in distribution. Therefore, when a truck is going to the supermarket, they can also add disposable diaper in addition to laundry detergent. Therefore, scope in the 20th century was based on core competencies and moving into adjacent space. For instance, Procter & Gamble can't enter automobiles. They don't have core competence to enter automobiles. That is why scope-based expansion also was linear and gradual.
Yeah.
What has happened in the digital era? Scope is non-linear and exponential. Why? Take, for instance, a company like Apple and its iPhone. iPhone has an app, iPhoto. It is competing with Kodak. Apple has another app, iTunes. It is competing with music companies. They have another app, Apple Pay. It is competing with financial services. Now, is there any connection between financial services, alarm clock, Kodak, and music companies? Nothing. Because the core competence of digital players is data and AI. Because that is their core competence, they can use it to enter any space. Therefore, scope expansion also is non-linear and exponential. By the way, I came into the US in the early 80s. When I used to drive by McDonald's, they used to have a sign which said 1 million burgers sold, 10 million burgers sold, 1 billion burgers sold. This is an industrial era way of keeping score. How many burgers do you produce and sell? Digital companies don't keep score that way.
Yeah.
They worry about who is eating the burger.
Yeah.
Because they know who is eating the burger, they can satisfy all needs of the consumer. For instance, I have a Facebook page. A couple of years ago, I made an entry. My daughter is engaged. Someone in Facebook, using machine learning, deep learning, is analyzing my page. Suddenly, bridal shower, bridal this, bridal that ads are coming through my page because Facebook knows who is eating the burger. Therefore, the fundamental concepts of competitive advantage, scale and scope, has changed non-linear in the fusion future.
Thank you. Next, we will explore the impact of digital technologies, specifically for manufacturers. I will be sharing how digital advancements are reshaping industries and the strategies business can adopt to stay competitive and innovative. As you mentioned, fusion strategy offers significant advantages over traditional strategies and is well tailored to guide the asset-heavy industries like manufacturing in the digital age. I agree with that digital technologies will impact manufacturers and this slide highlights my ideas on how this impact will take effect. Digital technologies like big data, sensors, robotics, and AI will unlock multiple digital drivers such as personalization, automation, and many others which will have a two-sided impact. Firstly, these digital drivers will accelerate the customer value creation process by delivering value through direct customer touchpoints throughout the customer journey. And this value is not delivered just by individual companies, but through a coalition of companies. And the second impact on manufacturers will be cost and speed optimization. This is done by delivering and improving customer-accepted service in an agile manner. Timely, data-driven decision-making, and innovation of business processes that combine traditional strategies and digital strengths. Now that we have covered the key digital drivers and their impact, let's move on to discuss how companies can strategically address the challenges and opportunities brought by digital transformation. New business strategies can be organized from the perspective of customers, competitors, the company, and leadership. Let me walk you through these four critical areas. First, its customer. Changes in value delivery approach. It's crucial that we provide solutions that address real customer issues. This means offering services that not only meet their needs but also solve their problems efficiently. By focusing on collaborative value, we can enhance the entire customer journey. This isn't just about a single touch point. It's about creating a seamless experience from start to finish by partnering with other companies. Moving on to competitor. Changes in source of competitive advantage. Companies must be agile and ready to adapt to new competition. This involves redefining our existing asset in the digital value chain to maintain our relevance and advantage. Utilizing technology to reduce cost is essential to keep up with and outperform cost leaders in our market. Next, company. Changing requirement in growing organization. For our company, the focus on growth and agility. We need to strengthen our foresight capabilities to better anticipate market trends and changes, adopting new management models, such as the hyper approach. This means that the hypothesis and plan, experiment, and review are very important. Finally, leadership. Changes in required leadership capabilities. Leadership must evolve to guide companies through these transformations. Companies need reinvention leaders who can combine technological expertise with strong business acumen. Developing the core skills of our workforce is equally important. This includes both technical competencies and essential soft skills like adaptability and problem solving. Lastly, companies should focus on maximizing performance by leveraging the synergy between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, making the most of our co-intelligent workforce. Now, we will move on to the foundation and implementation of fusion strategy. In this segment, we will examine the key concepts such as data graphs and algorithms that underpin the strategy and explore the emerging paradigm of the connected intangible economy. And in the end, I will share the approach to maximize digital impact for business. Vijay さん、データグラフ and algorithm seem to be the core fusion strategy. Could you explain why these elements are so fundamental to the concept of fusion strategies? What makes them crucial for business looking to implement these strategies effectively? Please.
Another excellent question. You know, I used to teach a case about 25 years ago on Sony Music, which was a physical product company. They were selling CDs. And at that time, when I used to teach that case, I compared the competitive advantage of Sony Music with Columbia Music, Virgin Music. All of them were built their competitive advantage based on physical products. By the way, Sony Music, Columbia Music, Virgin Music, these are all B2C brands, but their processes stopped B2B. They only kept track of how many burgers they sold. They only kept track of how many CDs they sold.
Yeah.
What Spotify did was it started to track what music individuals are listening to in real time.
Yeah.
The moment you start tracking what individuals are listening to in real time,
No.
the process of value creation changes. And strategy is nothing but creating value. Therefore, the strategy changed in music. That is what we call data graph.
Yeah.
Data graph is observing product as consumed. Whereas in the 20th century, companies like Sony Music only kept track of product as sold. The moment you try to track product as consumed, you're able to construct a data graph. Google has a search graph. Facebook has a social graph. Netflix has a movie graph. By the way, it was Google which introduced the concept of data graph. If you think about it for a moment, Google is similar to a physical library. If you go to a physical library, there are different categories: history books, fiction books, non-fiction books, travel books, etc. Now, suppose you go to a physical library and you go to the history section, and suppose you take a look at 10 history books and decide to withdraw one of them. The librarian on that day knows only the book you withdrew. He does not know that you searched 10 books. Suppose a week later, you came to the same physical library, and now you go to the travel section, and you take a look at 20 travel books, and then decide to withdraw travel book to Japan. The librarian on that day knows only you withdrew the book on travel to Japan. He doesn't know you were searching 20 books. Certainly, the librarian does not know you came a week earlier and you are searching history books. This is what Google does. They are able to keep track of product as consumed. Every time you do a search, that is a data for them. It is not big data. It is smart data. It is not any data. Smart data is product as consumed. By the way, we call it a data graph because graph is something we understood in high school algebra. What is a graph? Graph is a relationship between two variables, x and y. But if there are only two variables, I can take a paper and pencil and find the relationship. Google has 500 million variables. If you have 500 million variables, you can't take a paper and pencil and draw the graph. You need deep learning. You need machine learning. When I say they have 500 million variables, what I mean is Jaguar as an animal is a variable. Jaguar as a car is another variable. Therefore, if you have been doing search on automobiles, and then today you start punching Jaguar, because it has a search graph, it immediately only brings up cars because it knows that's what you're interested in. Data graph is product in use. The second thing, these digital giants keep track as data network effects. Data network effects are where when you do a search, your search graph becomes smarter. When you watch a movie in Netflix, their movie graph becomes better. Data network effects is learning across customers. Principle number one is data graph, which is these digital giants keep track of product as consumed, whereas industrial companies in the 20th century kept track of product as sold. That is data graph. Principle two is they analyze your data graph across all other customers' data graphs. So if Netflix has 200 million customers, they are able to learn across the 200 million customers when they compare your data graph with them, which leads to principle number three. They are able to hyper-personalize recommendation and solve your problem in real time. They're able to hyper-personalize recommendation and solve your problem in real time by learning across customers. Therefore, when you go to Netflix, in real time, they tell you what should be the next movie you should watch based on your own data graph and comparing it across 200 million customers. Therefore, data graph, data network effects, and hyper-personalization are three principles, and algorithms comes in the hyper-personalization phase. So you construct data graph, then you exploit data network effects, then you use AI to analyze the data graph. And not just to do descriptive analysis, which is what most companies do. Descriptive analysis is what has happened. They go beyond that to diagnostic, which is why did it happen? To predictive, what will happen? Finally, to prescriptive, what should happen? And because they're able to do these four types of analysis, they are able to hyper-personalize recommendation to a single customer based on collective learning across customers. This is the fundamental set of principles that guides Fusion strategy.
Thank you. So thank you for sharing the core element of Fusion strategies, which is data graph and algorithm. I think these elements are caused by the emerging paradigm of the connected intangible economy. This slide shows a significant shift in the economy where digital has revolutionized. As a result, we see streamlined operations and reduced uncertainty in the tangible product economy. Currently, we are witnessing the transformation of product and services, leading to the creation of a new economy consisting of connected intangible product and services. This transition marks a blend between traditional tangible asset and these new connected intangible asset, forming what we now refer to as a mixed economy. Now, let's explore the new economic futures for connected intangibles, focusing on the network effects that drive scale, scope, speed, as you mentioned. Starting with scale, in the connected intangible economy, as the number of customers increases, so does the overall value of the service or product. And as a result, lower the cost per customer, unlike the tangible economy, where there is a limit to how much value additional customers can bring. Connected intangible benefit greatly from more users. This is largely due to the direct network effect. Each new user enhances the experience for everyone else, making the service more valuable and encouraging even more users to join. For scope, a broader breadth of services leads to increased customer value and lower cost per service, thanks to the indirect network effect. This effect occurs when the presence of various services makes the platform more attractive, encouraging greater use and integration. In contrast, the tangible economy faces limitations in expanding services without a corresponding rise in cost. And lastly, I'm going to explain about speed. In connected tangible economy, the speed of expanding scale and scope is accelerated, driven by prompt delivery through the network and agile development to meet customer needs. Economic effect of scale and scope are realized mainly by data. We can create more value by collecting, storing, analyzing data from more customers. This is exactly what the data network effect. When the amount of collected data, such as IoT data, becomes too large to analyze manually, leveraging AI is more effective to create value from the data. This responds to the data network effect described by Vijay-san. These network effects, direct, indirect, and data, are crucial for maximizing customer value and optimizing cost in the connected intangible economy. They create a strong competitive advantage, making it essential for companies to leverage these effects strategically. Vijay-san, could you share some of your thoughts on the slide I just shared? Please.
I think you really summarized the essence of fusion strategy. Fusion strategy is about expanding scale and scope at exponential speed. And that happens because of direct network effects, indirect network effects, and data network effects. And it also happens because you're able to track product as consumed. Therefore, the key question is, in the next decade, can there be a digital tractor company worth $4 trillion? The answer is yes. Can there be a digital health company worth $5 trillion? The answer is yes. Just like the way we have pure digital giants today, like Apple and Microsoft, who are worth $3 trillion and more. Is it possible in the future a historical industrial company becomes a fusion strategy company, an industrial digital company, thereby its scale and scope are growing at exponential speed? The answer is absolutely yes. Can there be a digital steel company in the next decade, which is worth $6 trillion? The answer is yes. The question then is, who will create that company? Will it be created by an industrial incumbent? Or will it be created by a digital giant? That is the only question. Therefore, scale, scope, speed are the foundational ideas.
Thank you. The physical business domain includes features like waterfall development and mass production, which are more traditional and sequential. The digital business domain, on the other hand, features agile development and the agility to sell on demand, allowing for great flexibility and responsiveness. Manufacturers should integrate these domains by embedding sensors and using data, creating a hybrid model that combines physical and digital. This approach is essential for creating new values and staying competitive in an advancing digital world. So, I will briefly introduce the 4 battlegrounds of fusion strategy mentioned in your book. First, fusion product. This involved designing digital products that use data and technology to improve performance and efficiency over traditional machines. Then, we have fusion services. This focuses on integrating digital products into customer operations to enhance their productivity and outcomes. Next, fusion systems mean to develop systems that connect various machines and devices for seamless, optimized operation. And lastly, fusion solutions. This battleground tailors the solution to meet specific customer needs using advanced data and AI insight. So finally, let me share my approach. I developed this approach in 2023. These steps also correspond to the 4 battlegrounds outlined in fusion strategy. It all begins with a deep understanding of the challenges customers face and the real problems they want to solve. We need to consider the scenarios and purposes behind the customer using our product, which helps in identifying the core issues. Next, we determine the product and services that will effectively address these challenges. This involves creating personalized, connected, intangible services delivered at the right customer touchpoints. Additionally, embedding software and sensors in tangible products can transform them into connected, intangible products, offering more value. Another critical aspect is the data we can capture from these interactions and how it will be utilized. This data can help us refine our offerings and provide more targeted solutions. Finally, we must consider whether we can achieve these goals on our own or if we need to collaborate with other companies. Identifying the right partner is essential for building a comprehensive fusion system that integrates new digital services and existing tangible products. By iterating through understanding customer challenges, providing the right product and services, and leveraging partnership, we can create concrete and impactful solutions that meet the needs of our customers and enhance our business value proposition. Vijay-san, could you please share your thought on the framework I have just presented? Your perspective on this would be extremely valuable for us. Please.
I think the framework that you have presented is really excellent because you're showing progressively the kind of path to getting to the ultimate place you want to get to is fusion solutions, but you can't get there on day one. So you have to have a migration path. And as you rightly put it, it starts with fusion products, which is essentially to improve the performance of your machines. Then probably go to fusion services, where you are now trying to connect your machine to the customer's operation. If you're John Deere, you are now trying to deal with the farm output in fusion services. Then you go to fusion systems, where if you're John Deere on a farm, tractor is only one equipment. There are other equipment like harvesters, tillers, planters. So there are systems of equipment. Then there are other systems of fertilizers, systems of seeds, systems of weather, systems of irrigation. Therefore, under fusion system, you have to think about systems of systems.
Yeah.
And finally, you come to fusion solution, which is solving the farmer's problem. The farmer is interested in improving yield, improving output. If you're John Deere, your tractor is only part of the solution. It is not the whole solution. Therefore, you need to create ecosystems. Yeah. You may not be actually producing seeds, but you have to have partnership with seed companies, fertilizer companies, irrigation companies, and thereby you orchestrate an ecosystem to solve customer problem. Fusion solution is customer defined. Customer defines the solution, whereas fusion product is company defined. So ultimate goal has to be to become fusion solution. I really like this slide a lot. You got a great framework here.
Thank you. In our closing segment, I would like to ask Vijay-san to share his message with our Japanese audience. Vijay-san, could you please offer some of your perspectives and suggestions for Japanese enterprises, specifically the heavy asset industry, as they navigate the challenges and opportunity of the digital age? Please.
I think Japan has a great opportunity, really. If you think about it, Japan emerged as a powerhouse in the 80s in consumer electronics, which is hardware. But in the 90s, Japan lost its way because it did not invest in software. And when the game shifted from hardware to software, they lost. But there is a new game that is starting now, which is asset-heavy products cannot be made in the 20th century way. It has to be made in the 21st century way, which would be fusion product, smart product, intelligent product, digital product. I think Japan has mastered how to make hardware at low cost, high reliability, high quality, total quality management, etc. Those are still very important.
Important.
So if you're Komatsu and you're making construction equipment, bulldozers, the reliability of the machine is very important. The quality of the machine is very important. And the cost has to be at the right. But what you really now need to do is to fuse that bulldozer with digital technologies. Therefore, my message to Japan is simple. Really acquire digital talent at tremendous speed, because digital talent is in short supply throughout the world. So if you're a Japanese company, really make the investment case in building digital talent. And then all the things that you talked about in execution, which is somehow fuse the digital talent with your physical machinery, which you know how to do. Therefore, Japan has the opportunity in heavy assets to be a global leader. And by the way, today's world's GDP is $100 trillion. Out of the $100 trillion, we have only digitized 25%, which is in the consumer sector. Sectors like music, travel, books, etc. That's only 25%. That is $25 trillion. What has to be digitized is the $75 trillion. That is where Japan is very good at. That's the Hitachis and Mitsubishis and Komatsus, and they really are the hotbed of the asset-heavy industries. But then they need to invest heavily, which they have already done, but we need to accelerate that. We have to accelerate building digital capabilities and then create that fusion, the 5 types of fusion that I talked about earlier. I am very optimistic about Japanese companies doing this. Hopefully our fusion strategy book will give some practical advice and actionable steps to get this done.
Thank you very much, Vijay-san, for sharing your invaluable insight and perspectives. Your guidance on navigating the digital age, particularly for the heavy asset industry, will be incredibly enlightening for our audience. As we conclude our dialogue today, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your time and contributions. It's been an honor to have you with us. I'm sure our Japanese audience has gained a great deal from your expertise. Thank you again, and we look forward to continuing these important conversations as we all work towards embracing the opportunities and the challenges of digital transformation. Thank you. ありがとうございました。Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think your idea of connected, tangible, intangible economy and my idea of fusion strategy are really 2 very good complementary ideas. So all the best in helping Japanese companies become global leaders in this fusion future. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.